Oh, I've played Final Fantasy VII more times than I care to count by this point, but one of the things I still look forward to the most on each playthrough is being able to collect the awesome, the fantastic Knights of the Round summon materia. Now, the materia itself is found on the hidden Round Island, which is only accessible by the use of a gold chocobo, but it's a well-worthy reward. By far the most powerful summon magic in the game, and just generally one of the best abilities overall. Now, Final Fantasy VII has a damage cap of 9,999, but that's no barrier because the Knights of the Round summon materia circumvents this by having 13 knights cast abilities during a single summon. Now, that means that at its weakest, Knights of the Round can be expected to do a meagre 60,000 points of damage, enough to slaughter the vast majority of most of the bosses in the game, and at its strongest it's able to do on 129,987 points of damage to every single target on the screen. Not too shabby at all.
Heck, even in the official strategy guide, the strategies for Proudclod, one of the tough bosses in Midgard towards the end of the game, 60,000 health this fella's got, and it gives you like 3-4 paragraphs of strategies on how to defeat him, before finishing with, of course, if you've got Knights of the Round, just cast it once and call it a day. In other words, you get that materia, you don't need us anymore.
Now, in terms of the story, well, just the concept of how any being, let alone 13 of the most powerful, were able to get themselves trapped in a particular piece of materia is not something the game really explores all that much. In fact, I can't find any official information on the lore behind summon materia. A lot of fan theories delve into the fact that this is probably something to do with the Cetra, the ancient race of beings that imprisoned Genova several thousand years ago. But like I say, that's fan theory, so I won't dwell on it here. Now, what we do know, of course, is that the knights themselves were based around the Knights of the Round Table, with the first 12 being actual knights, and the 13th, that's the final knight that gets summoned as part of the animation, is actually representing King Arthur himself. Incidentally, that final knight was also released along with his Excalibur weapon as an action figure toy, simply with the name Arthur. Moving on to some of the more interesting in-game mechanics of the Knights of the Round summon materia, the first of which I'm sure you guys who are veterans of the game are well aware of, and that is that the Knights of the Round summon cannot successfully be paired, the only summon magic that cannot successfully be paired as well, with the Quadra magic materia. If you try and make that link, it will still only cast a single time. However, according to the Final Fantasy wiki, there is a workaround for this if you want to go to the effort. You will in fact require 2 master summon materias, so that's no small feat in and of itself, and you'll have to pair one with Quadra magic, pair the other with the magic counter materia, and then you have a hugely impressive 1% chance to counter enemies with 4 cast Knights of the Round. Probably not worth it, let's be honest. Although one little combo you might not be aware of, which is actually quite useful and much easier, is simply pairing Knights of the Round with the Steal as well materia, and that will actually give you 13 chances at stealing from an enemy with a single Knights of the Round cast. So for some of those tougher steals, that's a fantastic way of cheating the system. Not only was Knights of the Round the most coveted materia to pick up in Final Fantasy VII, it also inspired usage in other Final Fantasy games since as well. For example, in Final Fantasy XV, the Kings of Lucis were very clearly based upon it, and also in Final Fantasy XIV there is an appearance of Knights of the Round in the Heavensward expansion. On top of these two, it also appears in several different forms in many of the various Final Fantasy spin-off and standalone games. But for me, the casting of Ultimate End is pretty much tied to Final Fantasy VII. It's how I remember it, it's how I enjoy it, and I can't wait to see it implemented in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Though seeing as how it's an endgame materia in the original game, I don't expect to see it in the first part of the remake. We're probably going to be waiting a few years before we get to see it in action, sadly. Now, I just want to finish by giving a shout out to Sean Talley, my latest YouTube member, and of course to all of my patrons and YouTube members for their ongoing support. Thank you so much, guys. But if you think I've missed any interesting information about one of my favourite Final Fantasy VII aspects, then please do share in the comments below. As always, guys, thanks for stopping by, checking out the video. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time.